Hello, everybody, and welcome back to From BA to Broadway. It is me, your esteemed host, Mr. Brennan Stefanik. I am joined today by one of the most talented, multifaceted people I know. You may know her from Americano off-Broadway. It is Megan Elyse Fulmer. What's going on, Megan?
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Amazing. Megan, who the heck are you and what do you do?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm Megan Elyse Fulmer. I most recently did Jersey Boys at Riverside Theater playing Mary Delgado. Dancer, singer, actress. Went to school for musical theater.
Amazing. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Montclair State University.
Is that a BFA program?
Yes,
Rock and
BFA
roll.
musical theater.
Amazing.
And they let me take my junior year off to tour with the national tour of Shrek the Musical. So
Heck yeah, they did.
junior year was Shrek University, came back to school, and they let me finish my degree on time. So.
Amazing. And how do we know each other, Megan?
From The Little Mermaid at Franklin Performing Arts Center.
Yeah, we do. Besties for life.
For life.
So last week, me and our good friend Liz chatted with the folks of the world about the audition room itself and what happens and how to prepare for that. So now we're going to be moving on to that next step, which is the good old callback.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we love them. We love to get them. And what a wacky world it is. So for everyone out there who is unaware of this term, what is a callback, Megan? Tell me about it.
A callback is the next step after the initial audition. So if you come into the room, say standardly you do your own 16 to 32 bar cut, or maybe you danced first in the room, you learned a combination, they liked how you moved, they want to hear you sing. So the callback is the next step to see what else you could do. Sometimes they've seen enough in your initial day and now they want to see material from the show. So they'll have you come back the next day or whatever that process may be.
For sure, for sure. Does it tend to always be songs, scenes, dance, all three at the same time? What's going on?
So, I mean, it depends. If we're going from an open call situation rather than an agent appointment, maybe you decided to go to an equity chorus call as a dancer, or maybe you went as a singer. So whatever your first step was, the next step will be the opposite.
For sure. It's a big old charcuterie board of an acting experience. You got to do it all, folks, but you also don't, depending on the situation.
Sometimes you're just that principal who gets the princess track.
And you know what? What a great track that is. Have you ever had a princess track?
I would say Mary was my first princess track. Stereotypically with Jersey Boys, there are 3 women in the ensemble. This time we had 4. So I was able to do a little less and really just focus on Mary, and it was cushy.
That's
I loved it.
amazing. I love that for you. I think the only princess track I've really ever had was when I was in Shrek. I was Pinocchio, and that was absolutely amazing because you just go on for that literal second number, and then you're gone until the very last one, and it was mwah, mwah, mwah.
Cushy.
It's very cushy, very cushy. We love it. Do callbacks tend to only be for principal tracks, would you say?
No, it's for everything. I think they're equally as important with the ensemble because you have to make sure the ensemble blends.
For
and
sure.
You have to make sure that you're getting enough of what you need, especially because nowadays I feel like shows are trying to save more money and the ensemble has to be able to accomplish more than one character. And so then you have to think about harmonies, voice parts, all that stuff. So your callback could honestly just be a harmony of a song. And they've got to get people in the room and make sure you blend.
Exactly right. And especially with everyone auditioning their full seasons right now, they want to stick you in as many places as possible.
Yes.
So they don't have to pay for more travel, you know?
Yep.
And you know what? That's cost effective and it is a business at the end of the day.
First and foremost.
We love it. We love it. We're CEOs of our own business here.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow. How philosophical. Wow.
I love that.
Okay, so last week we did 2 weeks ago, we talked about the different ways you find auditions and stuff. And when we were talking about Actors Access, we were investigating the good old EcoCast and that lovely, vague little inbox you got there. I don't know. I always get confused and never really know. Would you consider an EcoCast a callback?
If you've submitted yourself and they ask for the tape, I say that's the initial audition, in my opinion. unless you get an EcoCast live, that's the callback, in my opinion.
Heard. I think I would tend to agree with that. I think it can get a little murky when you're like, oh, well, I submitted my stuff and that's exactly what I would do in an audition. But like, sorry, I need to burp.
Yes.
Thank you. That's staying on the pod. This is a pro burping podcast here from VA to Burp. What? Broadway. Yeah, it can get a little murky, especially when you're like really excited about it too, and you're like, wow. But I think at the end of the day, an EcoCast is like still that initial step. It is nice that it typically involves materials from the show, but it tends to be less than you would be doing for the actual callback.
Exactly. And if you think of it from a standpoint, like your agents are also submitting you through Actors Access. So for me, I don't see always what they're submitting through Actors Access.
For sure.
So then that means when I get the email from them for a self-tape request, in my eyes, that's the first point. That's the initial audition.
Yeah.
So whether it's I'm submitting myself or they're submitting me, until I hear back from that casting, I mark that as the initial.
For sure. And like also the great things is that sometimes there's even more stuff happening live after that, which is nice.
Yes.
And like also there are some of the callbacks virtually and stuff as well. But like it is nice to then be able to also have that next step and like feel like you got the callback, you know, for real, and be in that room and do all that jazz, you know?
Definitely.
Ugh.
We love it.
We do love it because there ain't no call a back girl. Am I right?
I love that.
That's a Bren Stefani original.
Bren Stefani.
Wow. Yeah. That was a fun discovery. I had a bestie in college, shout out Mary Margaret, who came up with that nickname. And I was like, that is brilliant.
I will only ever call you that from here on out.
And you know what? I love that. I accept that. And I mean, if it begins with a B, I'll answer to it. But this one's particularly good.
That's the best.
Big fan. What a freaking waiting game callbacks can be, you know? It's
either the waiting game or it's like boom, 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 no stop. I feel like there's really no in between. I feel like the process is either go, 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 and then you have an idea of where you're at.
Yeah.
Or you have all this time, you don't hear anything, and all of a sudden, boom, you're in it.
Yeah.
That's what kind of just happened to me.
Tell the story, girl. Let the people know.
So while I was at Riverside doing Jersey Boys, I got a self-tape. Well, initially, I got an appointment to go to New York to audition for On Your Feet at Riverside. But then my agents had to remind them, like, hey, she's actually like at your theater right now. She's not going to be able to go to New York. So they let me do a self-tape request. The self-tape was due January 18th, I want to say. It wasn't until about February. What's today?
Today, we are recording on Wednesday, March 6th.
Okay, great. So I think I found out that they were still interested in me for the show itself on like February 20th.
Okay.
And then 3 days later, I got the confirmation that I definitely was going to be doing the show. So it was like a month and a half almost.
Yeah.
Until they were just like, just kidding, we need you. But the thing was, initially, I was called in for Gloria. I hadn't danced at all. And because the choreographer knew me, that's when they're like, hey, we need one more ensemble person. Are you interested in ensemble? And then there was a little back and forth. And now I'm doing pre-pro for it.
Yeah. And you're going to be like doing it for real, like very soon as well. Like
I fly on the 18th.
What a crazy turnaround.
Literally January 18th. I fly March 18th.
Wild. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So that's the long game.
Full circle. Look at you. Yeah, I mean, it's such a lovely thing how you're just like waiting and waiting and waiting for that hopeful notification, you know? But there are no rules. There are really no rules on their end.
No.
Because they got to do what they got to do. And sometimes people drop and you never know what's going to happen. So,
well, that's what happened my very first tour. So when I did Shrek, I auditioned for it the very end of my sophomore year of college. So I want to say it was definitely in May. I remember this vividly because Cinco de Mayo that year, a bunch of my friends went out and I stayed in and I was looking on BroadwayWorld.com and Playbill.com
as we do
at different auditions I could go to while I was still close to the city because I went to Montclair. because the end of my freshman year, I had auditioned for a couple shows and made it through a couple rounds. Didn't get anything. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the same thing end of sophomore year, see where I'm at.
Amazing.
So it was like, say, May 10th. I went in for Shrek and I made it through 2 rounds that day, got called back the next day to learn a little bit more choreography and to sing again and to do sides. And then 2.5 months went by.
Yep.
I didn't hear a thing. I figured it was a wash. And then like a month before I was supposed to go back to college, what I didn't know was happening was it was already out on tour. They were going to do like a month and a half or 2 months in Singapore for the summer. And they wanted to see who was renewing their contracts from Singapore into the next year of this last leg. So basically, they were waiting to see what swings were renewing their contracts, if at all. Both female swings decided not to move forward. One became the associate choreographer. The other one was just like, yeah, I'm good. So then they cast me as both female swings.
Wow.
So I was the only female swing, had
That's
never swung before.
crazy.
And I didn't find out until the first day of rehearsal.
Oh my God, that's so fun. That's so fun.
It was a whirlwind, but it was
I
a
would imagine
fast
so.
process into absolutely nothing into the gig.
Just for a little vocab check for the folks out there, when you say rounds for callbacks, what do you mean by that?
So sometimes, again, when you go in the first day, so I'll reference Bodyguard was my last tour. When I went in for Bodyguard, I danced, and then they made some cuts, and they asked some of us to stay and sing. And then from there, they asked some of us to come back the following day to do partner work. So I feel like it depends on how you want to frame it. You know, you could say that me getting asked to stay and sing is the first callback, but I feel like if you get called back the next day, or if you get asked to come back the next day, that's the callback.
For sure.
So the initial day, maybe you make it through some cuts and you make it through some rounds, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
But then if you get asked to come back the next day, that's the callback. So the callback, there was partner work that was involved. Actually, it may have all been that same day. Regardless.
Yeah.
Then there were final callbacks. So final callbacks, they had all the male identifying characters and female identifying characters in the same room doing the big Queen of the Night number. Then they made final cuts from that day. And by the end of the day, it was 7 females, 14 males. And we were all partnering. So each guy, every female had 2 male partners. So we were working.
Yeah, no kidding.
We were sweating on top of each other. So that was my last frame of reference.
Yeah.
And then they had some of us sing one last time.
Okay, heard.
And then from there, I think I found out about 2 weeks later or it was about 3 weeks later, because then I was in LA rehearsing for Straight Outta Oz, a tour I did with Todrick Hall.
Yes. Shout out Todrick.
Hey.
Hey, he's definitely listening right now.
Yes, Daddy. So I was in LA at Abby Lee Miller's studio when I got the call saying, hey, Paul Hart's asking if you're still available for Bodyguard.
I mean, how many rounds was that total? Like 5?
I went through, I think in total with Bodyguard, I went through 7 rounds.
Wow. And are there any rules for how many rounds there can be?
Oh, no. But I think with equity, when it's like a principal call, if you've gone through so many rounds and it becomes work sessions, they have to start paying you.
Of course. Are you equity, just for the people out there?
I am.
I know that. Yeah, you are.
But I've done it all. I did the non-union tour, which was Shrek, then touring with an artist, Todrick, and then Bodyguard was my union tour. And since then, I mean, the thing was, too, is because I had done Shrek and it was a non-union tour, and that's an experience.
Yep.
Non-union touring is an experience. We'll say that. I knew that when I graduated college, I no longer wanted to work just as a non-union person. So I was non-union for a period of time, but I was only working at equity houses. So I worked at Fulton, I worked at Main State, I worked at Riverside for the first time 8 years ago.
Gotcha.
You know?
And were you EMC accruing points, or did you get an equity contract that brought you in?
I was accruing points for all of the regional contracts I had done up until I booked Bodyguard. when we opened, because we initially started the show at Paper Mill Playhouse, and Paper Mill always has to hire a certain amount of non-union actors. So I was still non-union for Paper Mill, but then once the tour launched, we all had to join Equity. So that's when I got my card. I had, at the time, you needed to have 25 points in order to get your Equity card. Correct. So I was halfway there.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah, that rocks. Good for you.
Thanks.
Get in there. Get that Equity card.
I'm trying.
Get those benefits as much as you can.
Listen, she's qualifying for the benefits right now. Let's keep it up, tier 1.
Literally, we love being able to stay alive. Yes. What a wonderful world that is. Oh my God. My insurance just like changed recently. Like the company just changed, but like everything is the same. And like I had to go pick up a prescription yesterday and they were like gaslighting me because I gave them my new card and they were like, wait, you don't also have like a Medicaid card? And I was like, no. And they were like, oh, you're supposed to get one in the mail. And I was like, I've been doing this for over a year now. Like I've never had any problem like with this specific CVS. And they were like, no, like it's not going to work without it. And I was like, what do you mean it's not going to work? And I sat there for like a half an hour while they figured this out. And I just needed my little antidepressants. I really did, you know? And I was getting angry because I didn't have them.
Right. Of course. Oh, that's so frustrating.
It is. But you know, what are you going to do? Once again, you got to stay alive. Thank you. Thank you, life. Wow, that was a little grim. I'll probably cut that.
No,
I don't know. We'll see.
Don't.
Wow.
Keep it raw.
Okay, so you get a callback. Let's say you're getting a principal callback. Like, are they providing you with materials? Do you have to bring your own stuff? What's the tea?
So they usually provide you with the material. So the last principal, oh gosh. Well, the last supporting character that I was in was for Jen in the Back to the Future tour. So I made it to final callbacks for that. Didn't get the tour, but
that's okay.
But we were given sides and we were given her song. You still bring in your own book.
Of course, always.
Always, just in case, because sometimes they want to hear something different, especially because technically that was ensemble cover Jen. And also, sometimes they'll see something else in spring. The last time I was in for a production of a chorus line, they initially called me in for Morales because I played her twice before. So I came in with the Deanna material, which it was a cut of both songs, What I Did for Love and Nothing. Wow. And then her initial entrance and then the What I Did for Love scene, like a section of that. But then when I was in the room, they're like, actually, can we see you do Sheila just out of sheer curiosity?
Yeah.
And funnily enough, like I had just done, I played Sheila in college, but because I had just done 2 productions of the show, all of the lines were like so in my body. And I've covered or done every role on the line except for BB and Connie. So they gave me the sides and like I was already off book. And they were like, amazing. You sure you don't want a moment? I was like, if you want to see someone else real quick, like I'll take a moment, but like I'm off book. So sometimes you're lucky and you know the show well enough that if they spring that on you, you go. But anytime I've been called in for a principal role, it's usually one or 2 of their songs and 1 or 2 of their sides.
And timelines, once again, for callbacks can be either really rushed or really spread out. Are we getting off book with these materials that they're sending us?
I used to take this class. It was on camera film class, but I take it with me everywhere because my teacher always said, come in knowing is 70%.
Gotcha.
Sometimes when you're too memorized, it becomes a little inauthentic and a little robotic. Inauthentic. I feel like I added another syllable. It becomes a little inauthentic, a little robotic. And I think I love what I've learned from my on-camera classes because I feel like it's made me a more grounded actor in a musical theater setting.
For sure.
And I feel like if I come in knowing it's 70%, I know what I'm saying. I know what the story's about. I know the thought behind each line I'm saying. And then he always says, feel down to the page.
Gotcha.
Use the page. We get to have those sides, and a lot of people encourage that. I think that it's becoming more acceptable. I feel like there was a period of time where if you didn't come in memorized, there was shame behind that.
For sure.
But that adds so much unnecessary pressure. And I feel like now, at least in most of the rooms I've been in, they encourage you to hold the page just in case.
Which is wonderful.
It's just healthier.
And especially with those like really tight turnarounds too, where they're like, hey, here's the stuff. Why don't you come in tomorrow morning? And it's like 7:00 at night already.
A lot of times, like there's been a lot of casting directors lately that I've seen that are working on so many projects that, you know, one or two people, they accidentally sang the wrong sides. And then so you have some people that are being called back for the same role and now they're doing a cold read, basically.
Yeah.
So, you know, I encourage people to come in with their sides. Not double-sided printed, though.
Oh, no.
Single side, not stapled together so you can easily flip through it.
Yeah.
And then use the page, like feel down to the page, have a reaction to going to what you're looking at and use that within the scene.
Yeah, for sure. Like whatever you can do to take the stress off you in that moment, because at the end of the day, like they are rooting for you. They want you to do your best. So like whatever that circumstance, maybe do it because that's how you're going to leave the longest lasting impression, you know?
Of course. And also like, you know, they're wanting, if we succeed, it makes their job easier.
For sure.
So if you come in knowing that like it's your chance to just do what you love and they're giving you the space to say, hey, we want you to be successful in this.
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, with a busy audition season, how many auditions are we working on at one time?
God.
Or how many callbacks do we have going on? You know, there's so much material to learn. So you just have to make sure you're giving yourself ample time with each product, but also not getting yourself to a point where you're going to make yourself crazy.
Yeah. I think I said last week that we all just need to continue to remind ourselves that we are doing this because we love it. So like set yourself up to be loving it and enjoying it when it's happening, you know?
Also, don't be afraid to say no.
Yeah.
I'm finally at a point in my career now where I've been very fortunate in this last year. I have had offer-only experiences.
Amazing.
And that's been something completely new for me and thrilling. Or I've been sent straight to final callbacks, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm also getting to the point where some things just aren't serving me anymore.
For sure.
And I don't want to just take something for the sake of having work.
Yes.
So if you're getting overwhelmed and one of these projects just isn't sitting right for you, get comfortable with saying, you know what, I'm going to pass. And it's also like that, if you're going through representation, that's a deeper conversation with your agents. And luckily, like Megan and Danny, shout out to y'all because I've been able to just show up in their office and be like, hey, now that I'm 31, now that I've had said experiences, you know, if I'm going to go away for a contract, I mostly want to focus on roles or a show that I'm dying to do.
Yeah.
If it's a dream show, dream role, I'll go away. But I want to focus on getting work that is close enough to New York or in New York so that now that I'm finally getting into bigger rooms, I want to focus on that. I want to be available for the callbacks here.
Absolutely.
I've had to fly so many times to callbacks, being away in St. Louis or in Phoenix or wherever, even Florida. Like this last time I was in Jersey Boys, I was so fortunate to get an appointment for the Kisses of the Spider-Woman film and for Back to the Future. And I had callbacks the following day. So I had 2 days to feel like I could be successful in 3 things, basically.
Crazy.
And it was very overwhelming. And as I'm so thankful for all of that. And I'm thankful that I got Mary Delgado was a dream role for me for the longest time. So now I want to be available.
Yeah, totally.
So if in this season we're getting too overwhelmed and there's too many things, because there are a lot of interesting projects floating around right now. And I will say that. There are certain things that I feel like I should have passed on in the last couple of weeks.
For sure.
And there was one thing that I did, and I'm glad I did, and I'm proud of myself for doing that.
Absolutely.
It's hard. We want to be people pleasers, and we want to do what we love.
And the thing is, I've been learning this a lot very recently in life, but also in this industry, that you got to trust your gut.
Yes.
You have to trust your gut. If something feels off, be aware of that and have a sense of agency with that because you know yourself, you know your stress level, like don't push it.
And you know where you want to go.
Exactly. I still like don't have a whole lot of regional credits on my resume, but like I did receive an offer. It was when we were in Franklin for Little Mermaid. I received an offer for a show that I had auditioned for, and it was a track that is a drummer track as well. And I used to play drums in high school and whatnot, but like I don't have access to a kit in the city and whatnot. And I just did not have the ability to like pick up sticks and like really get back in shape in time for that. And I was like, if I were to go do this show, I know I would be so stressed out, not only like learning the show, but then also like learning how to feel at home in this again, you know? And I was like, it's a 3-month contract and I don't want to do that to myself, but also I don't want to do that to them because I know that it's not going to be the best performance that I could give and it's not the best performance that they could probably get, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know. I was like feeling all this pressure because I was like, well, I need to take everything that I can get and whatnot, but yada, yada, yada. And I eventually settled and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. That's also 3 months that I could be trying to get something else that I am passionate about and like more right for in this moment.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. Like I got another gig in that time and I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. So I am very, in hindsight, I am just so grateful that I really did that. And like also like, I don't know, I have a lot of friends like experiencing like horror contracts right now and whatnot. And they're like scared to like speak up for themselves or do anything. But like,
you have to be an advocate for yourself. And it starts in the callbacks. It starts in the room.
You need to set the tone for yourself. You need to let
100%.
people know how you need to be treated and whatnot and what they can expect from you.
Yeah.
And if they don't like that, then it's not meant to be.
No.
And they're stinky and blah. We don't need that. Yeah, I don't know. And then once again, that's something that takes time. But like, boy, am I happy and glad that that's really something I'm stepping into now, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, it can be tricky and people will definitely take advantage of you in this industry. So just trust your gut, follow your instincts, stand up for yourself. And once again, make sure you're loving it, you know, make sure you're loving it, make sure you're cultivating the environments in which you love it, you know, whatever that means to you. And you'll know what that means to you. We talked a lot last week about how you're preparing and how you're coming to this room. What are you wearing to a callback? Because I feel like I've been told so many things in the audition and callback world, but now you're like being called in for a principal track. Like, are you trying to give any nods to anything? Are you dressing up like the character? What are you doing?
I think it's a balance. So like for something like Clue, I was in for Scarlett and Yvette.
Yep.
I wore a black dress that was of the era that could go either way. Luckily, like they're both like the sexy female characters of the game. One is just more comedic and over the top, and the other one is the broad, you know? Yeah. So, or like something like Anita, like I'm wearing something that's slightly of the period, a little more mature, but still sexy.
For sure.
But then like, you know, if it's something like Back to the Future, it's a little bit more casual. You just have to go with whatever the time period is, whatever the vibe of the character is. You know, like study that character's aesthetic and then make it you.
I was going to say, I think no matter what it is, hopefully it's something that's coming out of your closet and it's something that feels like you, because
for sure.
I mean, it's definitely really wise in these rooms to like illustrate the things in the character that you typically are not, you know?
That's the only way to be a good actor too, is you have to put yourself in the circumstances of that character.
For sure.
So with what you wear, you have to bring your wardrobe in the circumstances in the time period of that world.
And especially like when you're in the callback room, like there's going to be other people in for that same role. And now it's getting more specific. So it is ultra important that you are showing what you bring to the role and like what makes you you and what makes the way you do this different from everyone else, you know?
I had a professor that used to say, you're all soup. One's Campbell, one's Lipton, what's Progresso. What is your secret recipe that's going to make me want to buy your brand?
Interesting.
And I have taken that with me, like everything, like when I teach master classes, like whether we're talking about wardrobe, choreography, singing, whatever it is. What is your secret recipe?
I love that.
What is it about your aesthetic, your vibe, your look? For me, like I am kind of lucky because I already have a distinct look. It's a blessing and a curse. So I bring that and I show what that does to the role. And either they like it or they don't.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm still living and wearing me and, you know, embracing it.
As you should, you know, as you should. What's your favorite kind of soup?
Oh my gosh. A Kim Resendez soup. Anything she makes
Kim
me.
Resendez. Who,
Oh,
oh my God. Shout out Kim.
Shout out Kim.
There's a good chance she's going to be hearing this.
Oh my God, I hope so. Kim, I love you, and you make the best soups.
You're the best, Kim. We love you. Yeah, I think mine. Oh God, this is tricky. Oh no, this is not tricky by any means. My favorite is Italian wedding soup.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm a good old Italian guy, and let me tell you, at that wedding, like that, we're eating it, we're getting crazy, we're swinging our napkins, and oh,
I love that.
yeah, it's a physical response I just had to that. Wow. Oh my God, yes. So let's talk about the dreaded cut. What a harrowing experience it is when you are just getting so close and then you see all that fall away.
Oh.
Folks, I cannot illustrate enough how important it is to learn how to leave it behind.
Yeah.
You know, leave it in that room and just, you gotta keep moving forward because it's so easy to freaking dwell on that stuff. And I mean, it makes sense. Like, you're so close, like your life could potentially change in a moment, but there's going to be more. I mean, especially if you're getting super close and super far, like, you clearly have the stuff to do it. You have the stuff to do what you want to be doing in this industry. So
there's so many factors here. I mean, leading with what is for you will not pass you.
For sure.
I feel like in the last 2 years, I've already been tracking this year. I think I've done 12 auditions by this point, just in this year.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, probably more at this point. Anyway, regardless, there was only one project this year, two. I take that back. 2 so far, where I was like, because it was for silly things.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's nothing that I did.
For sure.
It's something either they didn't ask for or something along the lines of, look, and I can't control those things.
No.
Especially, like, I've been in final callbacks for certain projects for replacements.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 2 inches too short.
Yeah.
It's a little frustrating because it's like, the size of the person
For
leaving.
sure.
But, to make it that far and to be seen that far, I try to look at it as I got a free class because classes are not cheap in the city.
No.
So I'm getting a free dance class. I'm getting a free vocal coaching. I'm getting whatever that is. And as long as I am successful in what I bring to the table, I'm going to continue to get callbacks when the casting is looking at the next show.
Absolutely.
That's the win for me. Are they still calling me into the room in the future? That means I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
So, there are times where, like, maybe I feel passionately about a show. So I'm like, that's disappointing. But to be honest, I feel like I'm getting so comfortable with the cuts.
Yeah. And, like, I think the more you go on and the more you learn, there are so many reasons. There are so many reasons that are beyond your control.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I mean, I used to work in costumes. And, like, one thing is that especially a lot of these regional houses are renting packages. You know, it is more cost effective for them to rent a package of costumes that have been used on a different production. And, everyone's crazy different heights. And, sometimes they have the money to buy some extra stuff and, like, really tailor it to you and do their best. But that's not always the case, especially when you have a 2-week process and you have 30 actors in your cast, like, each with 4, 5 different looks. Like, it can be really difficult. And that is that's something you can't control. And that is okay.
There's a good chance I might be doing a show again.
Mm-hmm.
I swung the show before. I might actually be playing one of the parts that I covered in the spring, summer. And one, it's because the director and I formed a good relationship and he likes me and I did well with the work.
And you're very talented.
Well, thank you. But It's also because they're renting the same package that we used from the previous production. They already have my costumes.
Yeah.
If that's the case, like, that's a no-brainer. So, like, it not only are you easy to work with and, like, they enjoy working with you, but if they continue to want to work with you and they continue to sell this product around, then they're going to sell you too because they already have your costumes. They don't have to make anything new. That's such a cheap answer.
Oh, that's amazing. That must be so nice. I feel so great for the costume designer right now. Amazing. Wow. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you just can't control it, folks.
Yep.
So when you leave the room, that's what you got to leave in there. You got to leave all those worries, all that stuff, and just keep on chugging because it's going to happen. It's going to happen probably a lot of times. But yeah, listen. And also, like, the thing is, like, there will always be another theater doing that show at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Especially right now, there's so many shows that are
it's
just
every season, every show, every theater is doing the same like 5 shows right now. Like
Lights
everyone's
must be really cheap right now for certain things.
I mean, everyone's doing Beautiful, everyone's doing Jersey Boys, everyone's doing Clue, everyone's doing everything.
For sure. They really are. So yeah, folks, there will be more opportunities. So you just got to keep going. Oh, you always got to keep going. Sorry, I did a little silent burp just there. That. Thank you. So, like, once you're into the swing of things, do you tend to find that all theaters are having callbacks and whatnot for everything?
No. I think it is specific to the production. Yeah. Like, for example, what I just did, Jersey Boys. Most of us were offer only.
Oh, wow.
Our director basically offered the entire cast. I think only 2 people auditioned and had callbacks.
That's wild.
So it wound up being beautiful because then when we all came into the room, we all either already knew each other because we had worked together with this director or, the director brought us together. So that already formed this bond. So technically, yes, there were callbacks, but not at the masses like there would have been. So, I would say to an extent, a callback always exists somewhere, but it's nice that, I mean, this director specifically, her and her husband, they always say this phase of our lives is invitation only.
Yeah.
Especially post-pandemic and everything that we've experienced. If we're going to do what we love and create work that we love, we want to be surrounded by people we love.
For sure.
And trust. And, I mean, humanity first.
Yeah.
So when I tell you there was 0 drama in this contract, it was
so unheard of.
I know. It was a dream production through and through. I could have done this show for another 6 months at least. I probably could have done it for a year and been so happy. So I find that a lot of theaters, and I know that can sound almost like disheartening to an extent to people who may not feel like they have that in. But I promise you will get that in.
For sure.
In a theater that really serves you and feels like a second home to you, or with people that feel like a second home to you. Because that director, she's the artistic director of Stages St. Louis. So at this point now, I've done 4 shows at Stages. Riverside happened to ask her to direct a production there. I'm about to go into my 3rd production at Riverside. So I've earned my stripes. I mean, I've been doing this professionally for 12 years. And there was a 4-year gap where I was injured and COVID hit. So for almost 4 years, I didn't do musical theater at all. So once you find your people, and also authentically and genuinely, I am not a brown noser.
No.
I don't like schmoozing. That is not who I am. I have a strong work ethic and a strong discipline, because I will be the first to say, I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best actress. I'm not the best dancer in the room. But I'm a performer. I know how to tell a story. I have a strong look, and I will give you my all in any space I go to. And if you lead with that and you stay authentic to who you are, that's going to get you the callback without even knowing it's your callback.
For sure. And like, also, you're a professional, you bring that air to the room. And like, at the same time, folks, like, you can be a professional and not be a pushover. Like, we're not saying you have to go in and just be a people pleaser and just be so lovely to work with at all times. Like, still, you can stand up for yourself in a professional way. And it's really important that you do, because like, everyone always says in this industry that it's about who you know. And that is a truth, but it's not necessarily, it's not about like the exclusivity or the popularity of it. It's a community thing.
It's also, there's a time and place for everything. If you feel like something isn't right, or something isn't sitting well, or there's something happening in the production that doesn't really serve where you're at, there's a way to approach each situation. You need to just come in with kindness.
For sure.
And know when it's appropriate to speak up.
Totally.
Don't not speak up. Don't not like advocate for yourself. I mean, for those who may not know, when you are in an equity production, there is a deputy. That deputy, if you don't feel comfortable going yourself to a stage manager or a company manager or some higher up that would be the person to solve said issue you're having, you have a deputy who is the representative for the ensemble, and you have a deputy that's a representative for the principals that can then go to stage management and say, hey, this is a general concern.
Yeah.
And then, you take those steps. But once you start to form genuine relationships, I know there are certain directors and choreographers that I can say, hey, this isn't quite feeling right, or I feel like there may be a disconnect here.
Yeah.
I try to approach any situation with potential solutions.
Yeah,
I never
always,
come in
always,
just
always.
with the problem, because then I feel like that can come across as complaining. So if I ever feel like there's a problem, I'd be like, hey, this is what I'm experiencing, or this is what we're experiencing, but I think we could solve this with either A or B or C. What do you feel would be the best solution? And then that's when it becomes collaborative. That's when it becomes a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's in a healthy way for them to see that there's a mutual respect. You're always trying to maintain that mutual respect. And then they want to hire you for the next thing.
Absolutely. And even as a non-union actor too, I recently had a situation that I didn't feel super comfortable with, and I didn't necessarily know what to do. And I went to the equity deputy, and I was just like, listen, you're not obligated to speak up for me, and I actually don't even need you to. I just need some advice. I just want to know how you would go about handling the situation, because, they have the wisdom, they have the stuff, and they can give you some guidance, especially, we're all in this together in a cast and stuff, so they'll be happy to do that. And then also, at the end of the day, they'll also have your back. They may not need to step in or do anything, but at the end of the day, you still have that support behind you,
For sure.
which is always nice. And that's not atrocious to ask,
No, also, especially because it's a deputy. I've been deputy on 2 productions now. And it's our job to know the rules and to know the general guidelines of what the rules and the laws of the union are. If we don't know the answer, it's then our job to go to our equity representative for that production. But also really understanding the language of the contracts. Like we said, this is a business first and foremost.
Totally.
And I was on a production where there were some feelings regarding how can I put this politically? I'm trying to speak very diplomatically.
Of course.
Diplomatically? Is that a word?
It is, diplomatically.
Okay.
It's a hard one to say, but it is a word.
Okay. I want to speak very diplomatically right now. There was going to be a sub-project attached to our show that really only included the onstage cast, even though swings were to get credit. And obviously that's hurtful. It's hard. Being a swing is very hard. And as deputy, people wanted us all to advocate for the swings. And of course we want to.
Yeah.
I have swung 6 productions now in my life, and I, majority of the time, was not treated very kindly. So as much as I want to be an advocate, and I do want to, as a deputy, speak up for the team, I also have to know the language that is written in your contract.
Yes.
I have to be able to come with a business mindset. I have to have the wherewithal to take the emotion out of it and speak logistically.
Yeah.
So, being an advocate for yourself comes in many forms, and that's when the business aspect has to kind of lead.
For sure.
Way.
For sure. And that's so smart and professional. And also folks out there, all of the equity handbook and guidelines are available very freely via the internet. So that's another thing is if you're having a problem with something, look up what the rules are for the union, because fact of the matter is they're the rules for a reason in terms of treatment and stuff. So see what's there, see what you can reasonably ask and whatnot. And I don't know about pay and stuff. I think they're hiring non-union for specific reasons in regard to pay, but like
Mhm.
whatever you can ask within reason, just like know your stuff, you know?
Right.
Have that support.
The more you know, and the more you know how to navigate in such a great way, that's going to get you the callback.
Exactly.
Because, like, I know we're talking about callbacks for initial auditions,
yeah,
but we can't even. Callbacks are also when you're doing a show. Once
Exactly.
you've done the show, you've got the job, you're in the room.
Mhm.
If you successfully were in that room, great to work with, you did the show, you did the production, they're going to want you back. And also, like a
Exactly.
lot of, especially in regional theaters, donors are such a huge part of what happens.
Yeah.
Volunteers, the community is so involved with these theaters that not only do they love the shows, but they wind up falling in love with the actors, and then they become a part of the board.
Mhm.
And the board says, hey, we loved Brennan so much. How do we incorporate him into next season? That's
Yeah.
your callback for next season, right there.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
And that's what happened with me with stages in the last 2 summers,
Yeah.
you know? But because I came in with respect, I came in with the work, I came in with just wanting to do what I love and be around people that I grew to love. And when it happens organically, that's what keeps getting you the callbacks.
Yeah. And it always shows too, you know, it always does. The community is very perceptive of that. And like, you're going to want to work with people who are fun to work with always, you know? And like folks out there who like don't have a lot of experience and stuff, also like socialize, just socialize, like know which of your friends have worked where. If you ever see a director that someone's worked with, like reach out, say, hey, I'm about to audition for this person. Like, could you put in a good word for me or whatever, you know? And if they're close enough, they'll be happy to do that. Cause they know how lovely you are and like, they'll want to help you out. And like, I don't know, even like any social events that you can, like just meet people. Like you don't have to talk about the industry or whatever, but like meet people, socialize, follow each other on Instagram. However, do read the room. Always read the room.
Always.
But yeah, make those connections because like you'll never know who you're going to meet. You'll never know who is going to be in charge of whatever you want to do next, you know?
It's true. Especially with peers. I mean, I'm in an age bracket now where a lot of my peers are wanting to switch to the creative side. Or even now, I was fortunate enough to start running auditions on both East and West Coast by the time I was 24, 25. And a lot of people who, this is actually fun. So my first time running auditions for Bodyguard, because I took over as dance captain halfway through the tour. We had a 4-week out with our contract. So I wound up replacing the entire male ensemble and half the female ensemble. I ran auditions both here in New York and out in Las Vegas. And in the Vegas scene, it's very small.
Yeah.
It's a very small pool. And no one knew me there. I think I knew one girl and I knew of another girl.
Gotcha.
So I went into the audition lobby and was stretching just like everyone else. I can't tell you how many dirty looks I got because there were a lot of people there that are like, who's this girl? Like giving you a little shade. There were a couple people who knew some of my friends in the ensemble. Obviously, they didn't know me, but they're like, oh, I heard this trauma's happening and this and this and this. And there were so many people talking so loud in the lobby, just already stirring the pot, already gossiping, already acting like they knew everything and knew better. And the casting director I was supposed to work with out there, she got sick, so she sends a representative. They all knew her. I was just meeting the representative for the first time. So we go into the room and they're like, hi, this is the dance captain, Megan Elyse Fulmer, and she's going to be teaching you the combination. And when I tell you, half the room's faces dropped.
Amazing.
And by the time I make it, like, that's such a huge thing. You want to get the callback. There were some people there that were really fierce, but I didn't call them back because of how they were acting in the lobby.
Yeah.
You just never know. And like, so even now, how many of our peers are behind the table?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been behind the table now for a couple projects as associate choreographer, as assistant director,
For sure.
as a reader even.
Yeah.
And when I come in with the team and with casting, and if I'm a reader there and they're like, oh, you know, so-and-so, you went to college with them, how are they to work with?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest because that's also my reputation on the line.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm also like always an advocate in saying that like being a working actor isn't just getting paid to be doing a project at all times and stuff. You know, being a working actor is going to an audition. Even if you don't get seen, showing up, waiting, you are working as an actor. However, the flip side of that is that when you are sitting in a holding room, you're at work.
Yeah.
You're at work, and you never know whose ears and eyes are going to be around. So you got to be smart, people. You got to be smart.
That's a huge part of the callback.
Yeah, it really is. So
even with the monitors, be nice to the monitors, because I've been in so many rooms behind the table where the monitor will come and say, like, Brennan, you came into the room, you leave, the monitor comes back in to talk to us and was like, I know they sounded good, but they came in and they had an attitude with me.
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know.
For sure.
That happens all the time. Like, the monitor's watching, everyone's watching.
Yes. Always be nice to the monitor, folks. Always be nice. Even when they're unpleasant. There are some unpleasant ones out there, and you see them all the time, but just be nice, be cordial, you know, because you never know. You really don't. A couple of weeks ago, we did the How to Find Auditions episode, and we had talked about like all of the forums on Backstage that day. Are you a frequenter of Callback Corner at all?
I'm not. And it's funny that you asked me that, because I was just having a conversation with my friend the other day, because she said there have been a couple projects she's been in for recently that she's made it to finals and, you know, she's felt really good about. And then she looks on Callback Corner to see like who's getting offers already and all that stuff. I've never even seen the forum.
Interesting.
I don't even know what it looks like, because I can't fixate on it.
Yeah.
I really have to let go, let God, or like whatever you believe in. Like, I have to let it go.
For sure.
I have to get out of that room and be like, you know what? Whatever's supposed to happen is supposed to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting time in there. I didn't discover it until probably like a year ago. And like, I'm an anxious person to begin with, so I'm always fixating on something. And once I submit a tape, like I'm always waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I discovered that, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. What a perfect tool, so I can look and see if I can stop worrying about this thing and stop thinking about this thing.
That's
amazing.
A great way to look at it too.
It was at first, and then all of a sudden I was checking it obsessively. You know, like you're checking it like quite literally every hour, and like sometimes you don't even find out until like a month later on there.
See, I'd rather be checking my own emails.
Exactly.
I'd rather be checking myself. I don't want to worry about what other people are doing or what they're getting. And it's not to be disrespectful or selfish or anything like that. I just know for me personally, I want to focus on what I'm bringing into the room.
Of course.
And if that project is meant for me, like, because to be honest, I'm keeping a journal now. I used to keep a journal like pre-Panorama. I would keep a journal of all the auditions I did, what if I got a callback, who was in the room, if I booked the job, whatever that was. And I'm starting to do it again this year.
Yeah.
I had already crossed on your feet as did not get it.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Because it had been like a month and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
I just assumed, and I said did not book.
I love that journal idea. I've never even heard of that before, but like also what a great way to like keep track of like who is in the room and who you've met before.
Yeah, it's good for me now to see like what casting offices are bringing me in and like, you know, what theaters am I finding a lot of success with? What creative team members am I finding success with that I see are advocating for me in the room? But also like, I just like to know kind of my average.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I think it's funny, pre-pandemic, I think I went through like 20 some auditions before I had booked something.
Yeah.
And it was SVU. It wasn't even a theater project. So like with this, funny enough, On Your Feet was like the first tape I had submitted this year.
Oh, wow.
So good average so far.
Yeah.
But you know, it's helpful for me to see and concentrate on that. And I had known people had gotten offers, you know, like I had friends that were in for it, and I found out like a few friends, I'm like, oh, good for them. And like, because I heard friends had gotten offers, I'm like, okay, well then that wasn't for me. I'm good. Check it off. Didn't book.
For sure. That's the thing is like this Callback Corner, it was made as a tool. So you gotta use it as a tool, folks.
Exactly.
You can't. It's not your new social media platform. You can't obsess over it like that. Because I mean, and listen, I've been there, but it's not gonna help. It's gonna make you more anxious, and it's one of those things where if you don't do that, it's gonna help you learn to leave things in the room and just move on. And if you get a call back, amazing, cool, what a fun surprise. But like, Don't hyperfixate, y'all.
I think that was a life lesson that we learned during the panorama and during the height of it, but are kind of now losing again, is like, you have to have something outside of this industry.
Yeah.
And if you're spending your time outside of the work, like obviously you should be taking class. There are things that we should be doing for our craft, but we also have to have passions and lives outside of it to just maintain our humanity. And also because life experience makes you a better actor.
Always.
Always. So if you're spending time fixating on that when you could be reading a new play or just reading in general
Reading
or like doing whatever, that it regrounds you.
For sure.
So that you can be more authentic the next time you're in a room.
Absolutely. Oh, retweet. Get those hobbies, y'all. And also, I don't know, your hobbies make you more well-rounded, which makes you a better actor.
Well,
it gives you more skills to bring to the table.
Exactly. So many shows are now wanting you to do so many just pedestrian-like things.
Of course.
You have to have pedestrian-like skills. So or just subject matter is just becoming grounded more in reality. We're not having these camp over-the-top shows as much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And even ones that maybe are considered a little bit more campy, they're still grounded in reality.
Of course.
So, you just have to give yourself that space to, after the callback, after whatever, bring yourself back to who Brennan is as a human. Bring myself to who Megan is, down to my core. And then go back into the next callback even more grounded than ever.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Honestly, preach.
Thanks.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for coming to my Meg Talk.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on this podcast. It's an honor. Oh my God.
No reverse.
I think we've really nailed it. I think everyone knows everything about callbacks now.
I think so.
Wow, go us.
Yes. Oh, I love it.
Nice high five. I'm going to leave that in there. If the editing software allows it. Yeah, folks, go in, be yourself, be lovely, work hard, do good stuff, and reap the rewards. Because if you do that, they will come. They will come when they're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it took me a lot of callbacks and a lot of moments over the years to get to a point where I'm getting right to the end or I'm getting offers. It took a long time. It was basically like a decade in the industry until I got my first offer only.
Yeah.
And once you get there, it's nice because you're getting the offers from the people that really align with who you want to be as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to do what we love, that's how we should be doing it.
Damn straight. Absolutely. I haven't sworn on this podcast yet. That was the first Brennan swer. Wow.
Oh, we're getting wild up in here.
Crazy here from BA to Broadway. Wow.
Wepa.
You know what, everyone out there, you can do this. You got this.
Mm-hmm.
We're your biggest supporters. And speaking of support, if you're liking what you're hearing, give us a little follow on our good old Patreon, folks.
Yes.
Just as the disclaimer, as we always do, we will not be gatekeeping any information on our Patreon. We are sharing everything that's need to know. That's just for fun little bonus content and behind the scenes, fun stories, more ways to get to know us and hear some silly tales and get a laugh in your week, So yeah, feel free to support us on there. We would really appreciate it. It will help the podcast continue to run so beautifully for as long as possible. But yeah, you can find us on all social media platforms at BA to Broadway. Megan,
yes.
Where can folks find you if you want to be found?
Oh
Where do you want to be found?
Well, on the Insta of Grams, you can find me as Meg_Fulms, FULMS. And then I also have my website, MeganElyseFulmer.com. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, everyone go toss her a follow.
Yeah.
She's a star. You're going to want to see what she's up to. Thank you so much, Megan. What a pleasure it is to have you here. I absolutely adore you and all of your wisdom. And I'm so happy that we got to share all that with the folks.
I just love you. Thank you for asking me to be here.
Oh my God. You know what? It's not going to be the last time, let me tell you.
Oh my God, I get to come back. I'm excited.
Woo! Oh my God, I can't wait. Well, until next time, folks, I'm Brennan.
And I'm Megan.
See you soon, folks.
Whip.
Bye. From BA to Broadway is created, produced, and edited by Brennan Stefanik, music by Dylan Kaufman, and cover art by Jordan Vongsithi.